This is Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. Mitch Lafon.
Welcome to this episode of Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. Joining me on the phone from the Tygers of Tang, it is guitarist Robb Weir. The new album, Ritual, comes out this November 2019. I've had a chance to hear it. It is fantastic. You will love it. And in fact, the 2016 self-titled album, Tygers of Tang, is the one that really sort of set me off on this band. You know, they had Spellbound and Wildcat and all that stuff back in the 80s. Great albums. Love the stuff. But then hearing that self-titled album was like, whoa, this is great. And, you know, they were part of the new wave of British heavy metal back in the day. And I'm not sure I'm going to call what they're doing now heavy metal. I'm just going to call it very satisfying hard rock. Anyway, I'm going to just get into this interview. Rob and I had a great conversation. In fact, while he was waiting for the train to go home, so he's at the train station calling in, which is quite great. And anyway, here we are from the mighty Tygers of Tang. Here is guitarist Robb Weir. We're speaking with the Tygers of Tang guitarist Robb Weir. The new album, Ritual, drops in November, of course. I have had a chance to hear it, and it is spectacular, much like the last album, Tygers of Tang, which was equally spectacular. So bonjour, Rob. How are you?
Good evening, one and all. I'm mighty fine. Really, really good. And it's an absolute pleasure to speak to you, sir. You've had a little bit of bronchitis, but
yes,
you're sounding pretty good.
I'm surviving.
So, yeah, absolutely. Jack Daniels, honey Jack Daniels is pretty good. I hear for a cough. I wouldn't know because I don't drink honey Jack Daniels. I don't like it. I only like proper Jack Daniels.
Well, listen, I haven't been doing Jack Daniels, but I've been doing honey and cinnamon tea. So hopefully that'll be.
Oh my goodness!
Well, it's brown and got honey, but hopefully it'll work. But let us talk about the band here because the new lineup has been together for a few years now with. And I say Jacopo. I don't know if that's the proper pronunciation, but
Jacopo
Miele.
Jacopo
Miele.
Perfect. Yes.
See, he is of course the new vocalist. So before we get into the new album and how it came about and the writing and talk to me about this lineup because you know sometimes when you're a band and you move members in and out. There is, right, you know, if you look at a Quiet Riot or an LA Guns or one of those bands, fans sometimes go, well, you know, it's not this band unless but you guys took a little bit of a break and then you finally came back and then you started doing albums again. Talk to me about reestablishing the band because for me, who's a newer fan, I wasn't around in the 1980s, I'm a newer fan, to me this is the lineup, right?
Yeah, well, you see, I'll interject there, you see, when I got a phone call in '99. I hadn't been playing since '87. Got a phone call saying it's 20 years. Tygers sort of celebration. We're thinking about doing a reunion, and Wacken in Germany would like to have you on. In a headline position. So I kind of thought to myself, wow, yeah, I've said I'm in, I'll do it. At the end of 87, I sold everything. I sold all my gear, sold my studio, sold everything, and just went into, went into something completely different. Quite disillusioned with the music business. I'd had a couple of situations in lineups and things, and I just thought I can't be doing with this. So I stepped away from it. So when I got this phone call in '99, I thought to myself, it took me a fraction of a second for my brain to say, yeah, we're doing it. So I had to go out and start and buy guitars and amps, and which was, of course, was fantastic because it's a great love of mine. Went out and did that and got well and truly bitten on the bum by the rock and roll bug again. Rock and roll is a disease. It's a fantastic disease, and it can also be a terrible disease. But when it's in your blood, when you've got it, you can never get rid of it. It's there for life. It can hunker down and hibernate, but my goodness, when it comes back out, as it did for me. So 2000 came around, and I thought I'm going to have to put a Tygers back together again. First member in was Craig, who's still there. There was 2 singers before Jack from 2000 to 2003. So Jack has been in since 2004, so he's 16 years in. And if you consider the original Tygers were together from 79 to really sort of 83, so it had a 4-year run where we were touring the world. I'm now 19 years into this Tygers, so we're doing pretty good. And we had 2 or 3 albums out, just trying to find the footing again, find the right place, for the band to sit in the, in the sort of hierarchy of other bands on the circuit. And after 19 years, so. It's not, nothing's quick fire these days, really. If you want to establish yourselves and keep yourselves going, then I think you have to consider everything, and you certainly have to persevere and keep at it, which is what I have done. The boys in the band are tremendous. A lot of people.
They're a great band, absolutely great band. I'm going to interject on my end on this time, but in the past when I started interviewing you and the other members around the Tygers album that was released in, what was it, 2016,
2016, yeah.
2016.
Yeah, 2016.
I had reached out to some of the past members, including John Deverell, about doing an interview, and they all rejected it. They were like, no, that's... And what I've noticed on this album and on this time period, it seems as though those tides have changed. I've seen the John Deverell Facebook and stuff post about Rob has a new album coming out and you guys should check it out. And of course, you worked with Fred Purser on this one. And it just seems as though maybe the family's not back together, but it seems as though everybody's sort of encouraging each other now. Has there been a change in everybody's sort of attitude towards the new lineup and moving forward? Because, I've now interviewed John. He spoke very highly about you. When you go to the Square One website or Facebook, they mention, hey, you guys have a new album, right? And then you worked with him, or worked with.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've always remained friends with everybody, really. Albeit we don't physically see each other through social media. I actually pick the phone up and I ring Rocky probably about 3 or 4 times a year. I probably speak to John Sykes probably about that, and keep bugging him about bringing his new album out.
Tell him to give me a call.
Pardon?
Tell him to give me a call. I'd love to interview John Sykes. Holy mackerel.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I know, right?
It takes me all my time to bug him and just remind him, that I used to look after him in hotel rooms when we were touring.
Yeah. So, but talk to me about working with Fred on this one and having him being in his studio and having him have additional production and working with you on this.
Well, yeah. So what happened was we recorded the last album at Blast in Newcastle with a great engineer called Mark Broughton, who was working a lot with Andy Taylor from Duran Duran, who Andy Taylor used to live about 2 kilometers away from where I used to live in Whitley Bay back in 77, 78. So we knew each other. We know each other from back then, from Andy playing in his band called Fast Breeder and me playing in my band called Trick, and we played on the same bill together. But that's a whole nother story. I suggested, we were going to go back to Blast, and I threw into the pot, I said, what about we go to Trinity Heights? It's Fred Purser's studio. There's the link there from the Tygers, because obviously Fred was on the Cage album, the fourth album. He's done a lot of great work. He's been an engineer producer for the last 30 years. I've been in the studio. It's a great studio. What about giving it a try? So everybody said, yeah, okay, we'll do that. And I think there were some reservations, as you probably would, because we made a great album at Blast. There's no denying that. We got a gold disc for it in January this year from the record company, so it's done all right. We booked Fred. We weren't ready, so we put it back. This was last year, and we put it. That was the May. We put it back to the November. And we still weren't ready, so we respected the fact that we weren't ready, and the album wouldn't be as good as it could be. And we third time lucky, apologising to Fred every time, we went in, of course, in January and nailed it. And Fred was an incredible engineer. He gave us guidance when we asked for it. We pretty much produced it ourselves. We kind of know what we want and how things. We've all been around a wee bit, and been in. I've been in quite a lot of recording studios, so I know my way around and know how they work. We know how we want things to sound, and Fred said, I'm going to engineer everything quite flat, because I know it's going to go to Soren, and Soren's going to do his thing. And if I do too much, then it might be difficult for him to change it. So we said that's absolutely fine. Fred was meticulous with his with doing takes and stuff like that. Incredible memory. God, my goodness, incredible memory of knowing what's what and where's where. So we finished the album in 3 weeks on time. Off it went to Copenhagen, to Soren's studio. And Soren just did his thing. And Soren has the touch. He is the go-to man, really. And I imagine he's going to be so busy with bands wanting them to produce, for them. When he's not playing guitar with Glenn Hughes, of course. He's such a nice guy. And this is the second time we said to Soren, "Are you going to master the album?" He said, "No, I'd rather it go across to Harry Hess." Who
Canadian Harry Hess from Harem Scarum, one of the greatest melodic rock bands that most people don't know about, which most people don't know about. You're right. Yeah, which is unfortunate. Because they should be.
I've got all their albums. Check it out. Please, everybody, check it. Yeah, play our album first, please. But certainly check out Harem Scarum, because they're a little treasure. They really are.
They really are.
Not so little. But yeah, Harry's other business is mastering, and what an amazing job he does. It was mastered by Harry in his studio in I think it's Toronto. Sorry, Harry.
It has to be Toronto, because he's out over there. But okay, but let me ask you about new music in the sense that, and let me contextualize the question, because it is the sort of the newest incarnation with the newest members, with Michael and Gav and Craig and Jacopo. You have to make new music, because if you just go out there and play all of yesterday's hits, you're going to be accused of being a cover band, and nobody wants that. So you have to make new music. But on the other hand, if you make new music just for new music's sake and it's not great, like the last album was, people are just going to go, "Oh, what do they do?" So how much pressure do you have in making a new album, but then also making sure that if you're going to put 11 tracks, they're going to have to be 11 essential. You can't put 3 fillers on this. It's got to be all killer.
It absolutely has, and I don't see it as pressure, because I know in my heart what I like writing, and Mick very quickly has picked up the style and the direction of the band, and he writes now in that kind of style, but with a modern twist, and and Mick and I probably come up with the riffs, and we then play them at rehearsals, and then the whole band starts and writes around the riffs and develops a song. So it's very much a five-way. Everybody writes on all of the songs. It's quite rare that I think on the album there's a couple of songs which just have a couple of songwriters. Most of the songs have got all of us on there because that's the way it works best. And I've always thought that. Whenever I come up with an idea, when I demo it at home in my studio, I never ever finish a song, because if a song is finished and you present it to somebody, then it really can't go anywhere because it's finished. That's it. I don't need to adjust it. This is how I see it. But if you write a song and say, listen, it's not finished, I need 4 more people to finish it off. There's the start. So let's see what we do with it. And I think you're getting 5 ideas, into a song rather than just one. And I think that works an awful lot better. It always makes me laugh because when bands come along and they have the song is credited to one person, does that person write every single drum beat? Does that person write every single bass note? I don't think so. So really, it's not. It's a bit unfair. However, that's just kind of
the way it goes.
The way, yeah, it is the way it goes. But it's not in the Tygers. It's.
But you're right about that not being fair, because it seems to me that the writer is the guy who does the lyrics. When, if you listen to "Walk This Way" or that, those riffs that you can sing along. That's just as important as the actual words. So, in fact,
my goodness, yes.
Let me ask you about that. Right, absolutely, right? So it should always be 5 people or 4 people or whatever the amount of band. But okay, let me ask you quickly about guitar solo, since I mentioned that.
Ooh.
Who was I talking to? Oh yes, Leslie West. I was talking to Leslie West of Mountain over the summer. And he said the most important thing about a good guitar solo is you have to be able to sing it after. And I was thinking about that, going, you know what? When I listen to "Walk This Way" or Metallica's "Enter Sandman," you go back and you go, yeah, I can sing the parts. I'm not singing lyrics. I can sing those parts. And he's right. Whereas some of the bands that I'm not a big fan of, the guitar players that play 100 notes an hour, you go, well, it's just blah, blah, blah. How do you approach guitar soloing? Is it 100 notes an hour, or do you think to yourself, you know what? The listener needs to be able to sing this solo when I'm not around.
Well, absolutely. It boils back to, in my day, the old grey whistle test, which the old grey whistle test actually was exactly what it says. It was if you, in the 50s, if you heard a song on the radio, and when the song finished, if you could whistle it, it passed the test. So it passed the whistle test, and that's where the name of the famous BBC TV program came from. And indeed, if you said to somebody, "Could you sing me, All Right Now by Free," and they were into rock music, they could do it. If you said, "Can you sing me a song by," and we won't. We won't say any guitar players, in case they take offence. But any of these 100-mile-an-hour guitar players, that tour, I think people go to the shows. I'm guessing they go to the shows obviously because they like the music, but for the showmanship and probably for the technicality of it all. It leaves me cold. It does nothing for me at all. I come from the guitar playing school of feel. Of Mick Jones and Foreigner. He plays some lovely guitar solos. They're not fast, willy-dilly guitar solos, but you can sing them all.
The best.
And they all mean something. They're clever. If you look at Status Quo, whether you love them or hate them, Francis Rossi's not the greatest lead guitar player in the world, but what he plays is absolutely on the money, and you can sing it because he tends to play themes, and that's what hooks your brain. I'm not a fast. I never have been a fast guitar player, So Mick does all the fast stuff. He does all the clever stuff because he can. The guitar solos that I play are a lot slower and a lot more me, and a lot more melodic. Do I ever want? I don't think I ever wanted to play fast, which is why I've never sat down and put myself into that learning mode of making my fingers go that fast. I think probably the fastest you need to be is Eddie Van Halen, because he doesn't whittle or diddle, but what he plays is nice.
And you know what? Eddie doesn't play super fast. Well, in fact,
No.
we'll tread on cliches for a minute, but Eddie, like a lot of the guys we're talking about, they play for the song. They figure out what the song needs and they play for the song. And
absolutely,
I don't want to disparage anybody, but a lot of folks will say, look at C.C. DeVille in Poison, not the most technical guitarist, but you put Eddie Van Halen in Poison and those songs aren't going to sound right. You put Alex Lifeson in Poison, that ain't going to sound right. He's the right guy playing the right notes for that band, and it sounds the way it's supposed to. It sounds great to me.
Absolutely. And I think John Sykes set the bar for playing guitar in the Tygers for me, certainly. I did it all on Wildcat. That was kind of a slightly different. That was very much new wave of British heavy metal. I think when the two Johns joined for Spellbound and Crazy Nights, then I think the Tygers they got a different identity, shall I say? A slightly more.
Well, okay. Let me take you up on that, because when you look at Wildcat, Spellbound, and Crazy Nights, yes, there was a singer change, we know, but and I know everybody says new wave of British heavy metal, but when you listen to Wildcat objectively, whatever it is, God, almost 40 years ago. Jesus. Almost 39 years ago. When you listen to it 39 years later, it sounds to me more like a punk album than a metal album. And maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, you're right. And do you know, I listened back to it just a few months ago in its entirety, and I didn't realise how much punk was actually in my songwriting. Quite incredible, really.
Now, I know you have to get a train, so I know that there's some commotion going on there in the back, but we will try to finish this in the next 5 minutes. But okay, because then after that, if you look at Spellbound and Crazy Nights, again, I don't want to start categorizing, but I'm going to categorize. I don't see that necessarily as being heavy metal, more as sort of a hard melodic rock, but that's me. That's, For fans that haven't followed along and didn't get the last Tygers album in 2016, first of all, shame on you. Go buy it now. And second of all, Ritual. Where do you sort of put that in terms of sound and fan base that you're aiming for?
It's going to sound corny, but I really genuinely do think and believe it's probably at the moment the Tygers' finest hour. It's got everything that the previous albums have had, but this is an absolute complete album. There are no fillers. I guarantee every track you will like. It's a big hard rock sound. Is it British? Well, there's the British element in there, but I think it's not an Iron Maiden sounding album, because I think I would class them as very British. I would say it's a very cosmopolitan hard rock album with tracks on that you're just going to fall in love with. That we have the whistling test on this album. We have that you will be able to whistle these tunes after you've heard them.
And that's what I'm looking forward to. Well, in fact, I lie. I've already heard it, and yes, you can. It really is. Oh, look at that! The dog decided to join the interview.
Excellent.
There you go. Hello, dog. Yeah, it really is. It really is a great sounding rock record, and it really is a great companion to the 2016 self-titled album. I'll finish on this because I know you've got to go, and apparently I've got to go because there's a dog who wants to my attention. Just talk to me quickly about the recording process. Are you one of these bands that does everything through email, or are you one of these old school guys that still thinks, no, I need to look you in the white of the eyes. We need to be in the same room. We need to bust heads in the studio and figure out what part goes where and what lyric goes where, and you can only do that face to face.
That's exactly how we do it. Exactly how we do it. We record the bass and the drums first with a guide guitar. We then go in and record the guitars when the bass and the drums are locked in and perfect. We put the guitars down, and then Jack comes across and does the vocals. And in between doing vocals, while he's resting, we're doing guitar solos. So yeah, it's all done, and we've achieved it and done it all as we do in 3 weeks. We book ourselves 3 weeks, and we can do it in 3 weeks. But yes, it's all done together.
By the way, thank you for that. I so love bands that do it that way. You look at the early Black Sabbath stuff, and it didn't take them 7 years to make an album. It took them
no, quite.
It took them 7 days. And here we are almost 50 years later. In fact, probably 50 years later on some of those. And guess what? They still sound great.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Oh, some of Iommi's riffs are just amazing.
Yeah. And on that, I will say thank you because I know you got to get to the train. So merci beaucoup, as we say in Montreal. And folks, Ritual is out November 22nd.
22. Friday the 22nd.
Friday the 22nd. Pre-order it now everywhere, Amazon and all those places. Yeah. And Rob, merci. Thank you.
Mitch, thank you so much. Lots and lots of luck. You don't need luck for your show because it's fantastic. Thank you very much to the listeners. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll try and get our Union Jack Bottoms across to see you.
Yeah, that would be necessary because it's been way too long. But I can certainly help with that. I know the guys in Diamond Head have been making North America a priority over the last few years. Let's make Tygers of Pantang the next band to do the same thing.
That would be fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, sir.
Thank you, sir. Cheers now.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Mitch.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. Rock Talk.